Biggie diggy dang. Okay. Yeah, nobody wanted to hear that. I was listening to my music in the background here. So, hey everyone. Welcome to Friday. You know, I hope everybody's doing okay. If you're not doing okay, then it's okay to not be okay. And it's, I hope that if you're joining us that we can put a little joy in your day or something. If you are looking for a job, don't hesitate to reach out. We have job postings on our Discord and Slack channels. If you're interested, go to discord.gg/breaksec, which somebody will post up in a second on the chat, or I can do it myself. If I'm the only person here so far. Doink. There we go. You might have saw on the crawl that I've taken off the Twitter. I took off the Twitter handles. Um, wow, you, you, you know the funny thing about that, it's not funny actually. I'm taking these classes for organizational leadership, and I made a comment on Twitter yesterday to a friend of mine as well. I was like, he and what he's doing to Twitter, and even if what is mentioned on Twitter about things like the another 1,000 people have left of their own accord and are taking the severance that he's giving them, and selling he's selling the idea that, hey, if you stay here, you're going to be working long hours and super intense amount of work and what have you, and you too. Yeah, yeah, it's just really really weird, and you know the things that I've been learning in my classes about being a leader as an architect and being a leader as a beacon, the beacon being the person that is supposed to set the vision and the direction and what have you. Um, okay, double check. I'm looking at something. Somebody's inviting me to a happy hour, which doesn't happen to me because I'm not nearly that cool. So I'm just checking. I'm just checking what my availability is like. Yes. Oh. Oh no, wait. Yeah, I can do that. I can do. I can swing the 1st of December. Yeah, just all right. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. If his goal is to create a leaner environment, there's a lot of things. There was a lot of issues being made out that he had tweeted out, "We're going to get rid of these microservices. What do they ever do for us? That kind of thing." And you know, he may have taken over an application that was hemorrhaging money left, right, and center. You know, I actually bought Twitter stock, I don't know, during the IPO, and I bought it at like $42 a share, $44 a share, something like that, thinking it was going to go up, because it's a social media platform. How, it's got to be as good as, at the time, I think it was 2013, 2014, good as Facebook or as good as whoever. It was going to be $300 a share. So I didn't give a shit. Yeah, no, that didn't. Let's see. Oh, hey, Beta Wolf. Hey, Lady P. My GCP Digital Cloud Leader cert with 68 minutes left on it. This test is supposed to be harder than the AZ900. So Beta Wolf, you just put a lot of things into one sentence that I have no freaking clue what you're talking about. GCP, I'm assuming, is Google Cloud Practitioner? Google Cloud Platform? Digital Cloud Leader Cert. Okay, with 68 minutes left on it. Does that mean it expires in 68 minutes? And what's the AZ900? Is that an Amazon thing? I don't know. Lady P, his goal is to bankrupt the company, cancel debt, and buy it back out of receivership for a tenth of a penny. Oh, I see, Lady P. Okay, yeah, thank you, Lady P, and apologize, Beta Wolf. I didn't understand that. So, oh, Azure. Okay, okay. Context, my man. Context. So yeah. Oh, well, congratulations. Wow. So is that the way testing is happening nowadays? It's like, because I heard the CISP is some kind of janky thing where it's like you have 150 questions and you can pass as early as 100 questions, but you can also fail at 100 questions if you've, failed enough of the 100 questions before that, the other 50 won't matter. I've actually heard people say, "Oh, I didn't even make it to the end of the test and I failed." And I was like, "How is it even possible? How is it even possible?" But I guess it is. So, the way they're doing certification tests now is kind of scary. I don't think I'd want to try to get my CISP these days because, well, not because ISC squared is completely janky as a company, a country, organization, but yeah. Nah, Google just maxed out at 60 questions and they give you 90 minutes for the test. Oh, okay. Okay. When I took my CISP back in 2010, I was like the second person done, and it was a 4-hour test, and I took 2 hours to do it. And that was back when you did the Scantron sheets, and I had to wait 6 weeks to find out. So, what is your favorite? uh, what is your quest? Yeah, yeah. Lady P. I think I know that's where you're going with that. New blue, no green. Anyway, um, yeah. So Lady P might be right. If he bankrupts the company, that might be a thing. Um, yeah, uh, I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen where people have bought a company and sold it off for less than the value of it. Matter of matter of fact, one of the companies that I'm learning about in my class is McAfee. And it's funny because you listen to the interviews of the people who are running the company, and I think 2018, 2019 is when they recorded those with those folks. Um, and Intel bought McAfee, and I don't know, for those of you who are in the infosec community, when they did that, there was a great collection of why'd they do that, that kind of thing. And I think they paid whatever they paid for it, they got like less for it when they spun it out. But there was a great, why are they doing this? And I think the idea was, at the time, they thought the technology would be thus that they'd be able to leverage McAfee's virus and endpoint security solution inside the BIOS and what have you. There was some janky shit like that. But the owner, the CEO, Quelly Thompson, at the time, had talked about a meeting that he'd gone into where it was the blue McAfee banners and everything, and he was talking about, we're gonna blaze a trail forward, and we're gonna be the new McAfee and whatever. And as people were walking out, the banners changed to the point where they were no longer the blue McAfee with like blue being Intel and whatever, but it was like the more red McAfee again. And it was kind of interesting to hear some of the issues that they had dealing with, image, trying to resell themselves and to try to um, uh, have a vote of, not lose customers, because it's like, well, now you're no longer Intel security or Intel McAfee or whatever it was they were called. What's that look like for your company? And he was like, we didn't have that problem. Like most companies that get spun off, you're like, well, now you've got a confidence issue. I don't even think their customers even realized that, what it was. So, talking about some of the, uh, what do they call that? Growing pains of spinning out, having to build up an HR department, having to build up all the infrastructure to make sure that they can continue working with alacrity and not having any issues. So let me see. I'm gonna play it safe. I've never heard of that movie. Looks at Twitch. So Beta Wolf, that's Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. When he's crossing the bridge, asking about what's your name, what's your quest, what's the capital of Syria, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'll look it up. I'm not sharing my screen, but yeah. Here's another thing you can do that was big in the 90s, 2K thing. Buy the company, assume debt, the company into that company for your other companies, bankrupt the last company or companies you care about are now debt free, very common in retail. No, that's Lady P. I heard they closed Toys R Us, but then I was watching a commercial for Macy's, and they apparently have turned like Toys R Us is now just a brand that partners with. Uh-oh. Oh no. I heard that. Oh, here's Walter. Hey Walter. Um you can unmute yourself at any time you'd like. Just know that your voice will go out over the stream. So for I think subscribers, you can join our voice chat if you'd like to join us there. So I miss Toys R Us. Yeah, they had a lot of great like Lego toys and stuff like that. So yeah, they bought the name back out of receivership. Just like Radio Shack. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Radio Shack is where everybody used to go before Costco and Circuit City. I think Circuit City and one of the other ones. But yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's people that are saying that Twitter won't survive the weekend because there's critical teams that are not managing any of their mission critical stuff anymore, and the World Cup is supposed to start. They're expecting it to crash because of that. I feel really bad for the folks that are still working there. Either they're being there by force or they think they can solve the problem and like lead the company with Musk out of its shit hole that it's in. I don't know. Whoever's left is either too afraid to try to find another job or sociopathic and want to tie their anchor to Musk's ship or wants Musk as the anchor to their I don't something that sinks anyway. Something that sinks. So Lady P, nah, Radio Shack outlived Circuit City and Good Guys. I don't even know Good Guys. Best Buy killed Circuit City, Good Guys, and Fry's. Ooh. Radio Shack was killed by not getting online soon or well enough and not having any leadership direction. Heroescape is what it was called. They had this sweet game that used plastic hex pieces in a tactical fighting game with all sorts of heroes. Oh, I didn't know that, Beta Wolf. I didn't know about. Was this Hero? Where is it? Heroescape. 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 I know. I don't have the browser on. One sec. There we go. Okay. And of course, I can't see the browser because it is. That's not it. Oh my God. Okay. Doink. Yes, yes. Just 3D print your own. There you go. There we go. All right. Heroescape Age of Annihilation. Oh. It's owned by Hasbro. Yeah. Okay, I thought so. Is this it? Is this what you're talking about? Looks like a nice way of doing like a tabletop RPG stuff without being virtual. Yeah, okay. So here's a $250 version with like, oh, do you get a sword with it too? No, do you really get a fake sword? Come on now. All right, all right. Oh, it looks like some sort of pulpy space game. So you've got a cowboy hat and a saber and a laser gun, and you're on the planet of Valhalla. Okay, dynastic rulers known as Valkyrie. Oh, there you go. Okay. Um, well, that's pretty cool. So, yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens if it survives the weekend. Well, the so Lady P, him bankrupting the company, he did not pony up all of this 44 billion himself, right? He has investors, so I'm assuming that his investors are either in on it or they're not in on it, and they just don't know that they're about to lose billions of dollars, and to make him do whatever it is he's doing. He must have guarantees or something that he can turn this around in some way. So there's dice too. You got dice in your system here. So interesting. Hmm. Yeah, I would imagine it'd be fairly simple to create at least mini replicas of these things. You wouldn't necessarily have to create exact matches. Well, this little Zerg things going on down here. Was it Zerg? Oh, sorry, not Zerg. Get sued. Get sued. Um, I'm hoping that's a plastic sword. I'd hate to think that's like a legitimate sword. Of course, it's made for kids, so I can't imagine it is. But yeah, special units are all painted from the factory. Okay. Yeah, I actually have a book called Blood, Sweat, and Steel coming. Blood, Sweat, and Steel. It's a RPG. I didn't realize that I had bought like the physical deal. It's very much like Conan and Hyperborea. Uh, Running on Fate, actually, or Fudge. Sorry, Fudge, which is the precursor to Fate. It's even more freeform than Fate is, ironically enough. But yeah, I have that coming. Uh, I say this without malice that I am a Kickstarter whore. I will pretty much kickstart anything that looks fun and looks cool. I've propped up many a independent publishing firm. That money doesn't exist. It's not in circulation. It's just paper. They're most likely in on it. I'd have gone to my own money people, and said, I'm going to do a forced takeover, refactor the debt, and you're going to fund the surviving entity whenever the debt is written off. Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Um, hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Um, yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, if the thing is, I mean, what is it going to be after he does it, right? Break it up, sell off. Yeah. yeah, I don't know what Twitter. If what you say comes to fruition, I don't know what Twitter's going to look like in 6 months. At that point, I can't imagine he's going to turn it into another True Social or something like that. It would be, he wants it to be. If he wants to keep it anywhere close to what it is currently, it's I think that's probably already past the point of no return. So we'll see what happens, but. A PayPal clone. So what are we going to have? Twitter coin? What I mean, PayPal has Ethereum now, or had Ethereum. I love how he asked all remote devs to fly into San Francisco on day or two notice. I saw that he was like, yeah, everybody's going to go and work in an office, and then he had let go, or there was some reports, and I don't know if these are true or not, but they the person responsible for like operations, building operations, quit or fired or what have you. But um, when they pulled all the access of all the employees, they also pulled that guy's access and a bunch of other permissions that made it impossible for them to actually get into the buildings. So I had heard and read on Twitter that that person was being asked to come back to work, and uh, I don't know what happened with it, but I'm assuming that person told him to pack sand or something else. He wants to be a bottom feeding bank. If you look at his address to staff, he basically said the bankruptcy's on the table and he wants to build a bottom feeder bank. Hmm. He wants to do a WeChat clone, PayPal, Facebook, Amazon combined. Okay. What? So what's a I don't know what a bottom feeder bank is. I'm assuming it's somebody who's going to give like highly speculative loans or something like a bottom feeder. I would say would be like paycheck cashing places or some shit like that. What we got going on her? Ah, okay. Well, that's not very nice. So what you're saying is Twitter won't look like Twitter when it rises from the ashes. There won't be the community stuff. So, um, we're all on the mastodons now, so you can go and check that out. Oh, I tell you what, Mastodon that makes sense. Okay, Lady P, that makes sense. I tell you what, Mastodon is learning a lesson on trying to scale. Uh, it was slow as shit last night. I've had trouble. I've had to click publish on multiple times today. Trying to post up, just chats and things. It was like, oh my, Lady P, of course yours is doing fine. You've probably broke new records. You've got 100% more people than you had before. So, um, but yeah, I mean, the chat is still going. Hashtags are still working. I've berated more than one person who's been using the infosec hashtag for something other than infosec because I'm an asshole like that. Um, you know, I've already seen ads. I saw somebody who posted up something today. It was like old geeks or something like that. Old geeks. Yeah, I think that's it. No, that's not it. Anyway, they were posting up like here's links to free software that is completely free, like Bitdefender and all these things. But when you went and clicked on the link, it went to their page, which was driving clicks through them through like refer IDs and shit like that. So they were on Fosdon, I think, and I ended up like reporting them because I was being a dickbag. So um, cut him. Yeah, Beta Wolf. I saw one too. I saw one, but it's we're building up that 1,000,000%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forget what the name of it was, but yeah, it was definitely something where I had mentioned to the Fosdon admins, and I don't know if they'll actually do anything. That's the other thing. I'm like, it's great that everybody's creating their own Mastodon instances, but as we've seen, unless you have the time and resources, there's going to be a great shrinking at some point because there's going to be people that's like, yeah, I want to create my cool environment. I want to do all this stuff. And then it's going to be like, oh, I can't afford, I don't think it's old. I don't think it's older geeks. I'm sorry, Lady P. Let me see. I think I got really snooty with them because I felt like I could. But I've never heard of them before, so. Uh, uh, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was like you click on their link, you go to their MySpace looking website, and you click on the download now link, which looked really giant, and it still wasn't Bitdefender, and I was like, nobody should be clicking on that shit, and yeah, so I warned I sent a message to the Foss Todon people. I was like, look, they should be at least giving direct links or something instead of doing what they're doing and just saying click on this link which goes to my website. So a bit of an ass like that, but yeah. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Sorry, it's not. Yeah, it wasn't. What did I say? Older geeks. Yeah, older geeks. So I mean, it's you clicked on their site and they go to this and they're doing all this and I was like, wow, this, and then it's supposed to click on this link, but it takes you to oldergeeks.com/downloads/download.php ID 466. I'm like, I'm not clicking on any of this bullshit. This looks janky as shit. I'm not going to be clicking on this. It's like, why am I paying you people? It's like, I don't get it. You know, just give me a link where I can download it directly. I don't want to click on this shit. So, yeah, that's why I said it looked like no ads, no crapware, really. So, which is funny because I used to live in the Missouri Ozarks. So, but yeah, they were posting some shit up in there. Spent 3 days building mine out. It's kind of crazy complicated. I discovered you can penetrate Cloudflare's veil because of Federation, so I had to bury it deeper. Uh, so, Lady P, in what way? What way did you penetrate Cloudflare's veil? What could you find out from doing so? And again, when I say shrinking, I'm like, you're going to have people that are going to create like, I want to, I want a bunch, it's hard, like as we've talked about, to create community. So you're going to have people that are like, once you get a couple of hundred folks on there or more, you're either going to be spending a lot more having somebody hosted for you or hosting it yourself, but there's resource requirements. It seems like it's a bit of a hog in resource requirements. So, it's interesting what's coming up on that. So, all right, enough on the Mastodon because everyone else is talking about it too. So I attended they called it a symposium this week at work, and one of the things that they were talking about were, um, things that we should look for because as part of my job is helping to certify certain applications, making sure that applications that are being proposed in the PMO process is they're not garbage. Some of them aren't. Some of them are. If you ping me, you get Cloudflare's proxy instead of me. You can't find me, but because I have to connect out to federate, a malicious actor can force me to connect to them and give up my real IP. Okay. Okay, so you've buried it deeper. Huh. So it's almost, I don't want to say like Tor because to be honest, I don't understand Tor well enough, but there was always things like in Tor where you could expose your real IP address if you didn't do everything just right. Um, so I can understand you wanting to protect your real IP there. So instead of hosting it locally, you could always do something else like that. VPN to a DigitalOcean droplet, and then that goes to Cloudflare, and that goes to the world. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, DigitalOcean's always good. My worry is you're gonna see people building Mastodon instances in like EC2 or something, and it's gonna get out of hand, or most open source people can't monetize what they do properly anyway on a side gig, and then they're gonna have to either solicit people for donations, which they don't know how to do that. They don't have that set up. Kind of like how open source developers are now. It's like, well, this is not going to take. It will get stupid. Yes, 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 exactly. Um, yeah, because I want to say EC2 is based on bandwidth and storage. So you get an S3 bucket, or you get something, you get famous or popular in your instance, and you're going to be spending a lot of money. And yeah, just because you can stand something up doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be doing a good job of it. So anyway, back to my symposium. One of the things that we were trying to impress upon people, because not everybody who does security certifications is a quote unquote security professional. Some of them we actually try to cross train developers, because ideally we think developers should know how to find bad things in code. So one of the things that came up was this website on the top 25 most dangerous software errors. Now, I don't know. They mentioned SANS top 25. I was like, I don't think SANS does anything like this anymore. And I was right. It's actually the CWE folks. So MITRE plus SANS was putting this together. Kind of like the top 20 controls. They're owned by the CIS team now, which makes oh crap, I forget. CIS. Somebody will tell me. So they went through the top 25 things that you can find and base them on CWE IDs. And I don't know if they're rated by percentages, like, of all of the things that they found along, amongst what's going on, this was the top one. So like 85% of code has this thing in it, or what have you. But it was just an interesting page on, software errors. And the idea was, if you can go in and work with the teams to go, okay, are you doing bounds checking? Are you doing, you know, input sanitization or neutralization, I guess they call it now, or, special elements in a SQL command, if you can look at these things and make sure that you're not, they're not doing these things, or they have mitigation against these things, your code in aggregate should be a bit more secure than it was if it wasn't before. So this was an interesting website. I was looking through some of it. It makes a lot of sense. Some of these things are, of course, on where you'll find them in OWASP top 10. Like your CSRFs, your SQL your injection vulnerabilities, cross-site scripting stuff, of course, OS. Not just OS command injection, but just command injection altogether. A lot of these are memory issues, of course, bounds reads, bounds writes, use after freeze, null pointer dereferences. I'm sure they have, integer overflows, authentication. Something we went to a specific section on that because we have certain systems inside that we required them to use. If they're doing that, hard-coded credentials, you'll find those pretty much anywhere, as long as you don't if you don't ask that question, you'll miss it. But yeah, so let me see, 8787. Yeah, software writes data past the end or beginning of the intended buffer, can result in corruption of data, crash, or code execution. That's really what everybody cares about, is code execution, being able to perform pointer arithmetic that references memory location outside of the boundaries of the buffer. So yeah, there's what I like the fact that they've created the tautology of all these things, and kind of, built a hierarchy. So this is a parent of these things, and then this is a child of this. So there's actually improper restriction. I think that's actually proper restriction. Yeah, yeah. So it's funny. So this one is actually a daughter, or a child of this one, which is actually down further. So the more generic version of this is actually further down in the list of 25, which makes me think that maybe they could have removed number 19 or number 1 and any of the other child processes, because they could have just rolled all this up underneath one another. So yeah. But yeah, if you one of the things to look at, or have your people look for in, when you're doing code reviews or what have you, is these 25 things, or at least the ones in the code that make that sense. But yeah, we're actually looking at building better detections for our tools that cover some of these things, or looking, depending on the framework you have or the language you use. Some of these actually don't make a lot of sense. Memory safe languages, it's harder to do some of these than others. So, oh, let me see. Oh, this is our friend Amelie Moran. She did a discussion on the Dunning-Kruger effect of DevSecOps. I think this is a couple years ago, but she'd posted it up on Twitter today, because I was still poking around on Twitter, and had posted this up as a as a example of stuff that she's done, DevSecOps and what have you. So another thing, so this is fairly old, because this is back when we used to use text only in browsers. But one of the people that was briefing us was talking about, oh yeah, we're going to talk about how you can get to understand code and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, you can just, I just build my own kernel. And I'm like, seriously, you just build your own kernels? And she posted up this link to Let's Build a Compiler by Jack Crenshaw. Um, as you can see, I've good. Well, there's a PDF of it, of course. It's a 1995 PDF, I'm sure. So yeah, it's not even written in LaTeX, I don't think. So, but you can definitely tell it's from the before times of the internet, before rich content became a thing. But this is the easy 500 part version on how to create a compiler in 16 parts. So he says. So, I mean, this is like straight up Usenet shit. No offense to anybody who uses or has used Usenet, but yeah, this is exactly what I would see the kind of formatting for Usenet. Lady P, back in the day, you had to compile your own kernel. There was no dynamic module loading. You had to link to the drivers you needed. Yeah. I actually built OpenBSD's kernel quite a bit. When one of the things about doing current for open, I don't even know if open. Oh, this site hasn't changed much in like 25 years. So 53rd release, yeah. Um, yeah, even the links haven't changed much. That's crazy. They still use CVS. Jesus. But yeah, I would go in and I would run my CVS commands and I would pull down the latest version of the kernel, and I would build my kernel. I would build my ports. I'd build all that stuff, and it was a complete waste of time, really. Um, uh, it was like every other day I was trying to build something. I never actually did anything with the box. It just seemed like I was always downloading and rebuilding kernel, or downloading and rebuilding the ports, or downloading and rebuilding the user land, if you will, or X in this case. I wasted a lot of time doing that. Um, and yeah, all these are still open and available. Um, yeah, they've kept CVS, I think, running longer than anybody else needed to. So one of the last few security or operating systems, I think, that probably use CVS, not ironically. So, I mean, it wasn't really easy build process. I mean, the instructions on the page were very good for building from source. So you do embedded development, building the tool chain means cross compiling your compilers and such. So even now, it's not uncommon to build all your compilers and linkers. That makes sense. Oh, they do have a GitHub mirror now. Wow, it's so much easier. Xenokara ports. Xenokara is their X implementation. Ports, source, and then the website. Yeah, it's interesting. I would have, I was going to read through some of this and see what I would need to do to set up my environment, considering was written in 1988. I was I was 9 years old at the time when this shit was written. God damn, I'm old. Oh God. Yeah. So they talk about I will be using something called Turbo Pascal on a PC clone. So in 1988, let me see, I started futzing around. Lady P, Lady P, I am not just a baby. Yeah, let me. It's getting dark here, so I'm going to go ahead and find my. There we go, and doink. There we go. That way it can look prettier. Uh, yeah, I'm sure that there's discussion on how to set up your environment here. They won't mention virtual machines because VMware did not exist when this was written. There were no virtualization in 1988. It was every DNS server was its own system. So, um, wow, there's a lot of shit here. So, he doesn't actually tell you how to set up your system. He just assumes you know how to do that stuff. So it's automatically useless to me. Uh, yeah, see, on the average text on compiler theory covers a lot of ground we won't be covering here. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So I did actually find another website here that was talking about creating a kernel in C. which was written a little earlier or a little later, a little more up to date. For what? Oh, so Lady P says for doing that kind of stuff, you want DOS box instead of a virtual machine. Why DOS box? I mean, you could download. IBM had IBM had virtual machines in 1988, not on crappy PCs. I'm assuming when you say IBM in 1988, Walt, or sorry, CPO, that you're talking like they were running virtual machines on a mainframe or something. Ah, we go. There we go. Yep, yep, yep. Um, so anyway, here's one example. I've not read through this all the way. I'm assuming we're going to write a bootloader in 16-bit assembly. Go to the following link to create your bootloader in 16-bit assembly. What I find interesting is from what I'm seeing here in this article, we create simple kernels such as printing hello world and then writing functions for printing numbers, keyboard I/O, box drawing GUI, and a tic-tac-toe game in kernel. I don't think I want a tic-tac-toe game in kernel, but I guess my kernel would be far better as long as I don't put fonts in there. DOS box is good for. Oh, right. Well, I knew. Yeah, I knew it. I've used DOS box to play games and things. Uh, Timing of real DOS machines, so clock works the way they were supposed to. Okay. Okay, DOS box. I have a really weird bug in my system. I don't know if it's a Windows 11 thing, but sometimes if I don't reboot the box before I start streaming, I can never attain 60 frames per second on the stream. I'm at like 57, 58. I don't know what that is. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping it still is fairly, smooth for y'all, but yeah, x86 emulator. There you go. Oh, y'all need a. Ooh, you need. Oh, that the. Well, Beta Wolf, before you say Windows 11 is broken, I am running this on a box that should not run Windows 11, according to them. Uh, yeah. So like, let's see, system information. There we go. I mean, according to this, I don't have a TPM in here, so I should not be able to run Windows 11 on this. Yet I am. It's just one of those things. I wanted Windows 11 on here. I didn't want janky ass Windows 10. You know what? I've not had a problem on the laptop, which runs it natively. It's just really been every Windows build I've ever had from XP 2000 NT. They always have their picadillos, and at some point I'll have to reinstall this because I did add a bunch of shit to try to get it to work with Windows 11. I just don't remember how I did it, so figuring that out will be a thing. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking you need a they need a better okay, so wait. I need to move. Okay, so I'm moving that out of the way so we can look at this guy up here. What the hell? the hell? What the hell is this guy about? He that doesn't make me want to. That doesn't make me want to use DOSBox. I don't even know who that is. He's scary, and I don't want to look at him. Jesus. Um, so, well, they're still supporting it as of 2021. We've created a workaround for Linux users. 74-3. Okay. Oh, and you have to patch your own version of 74-3. So maybe they assume if you're on Linux, you know how to diff your patches and what have you. Yeah, I mean, good old, was it Good Old Games? GOG.com uses a DOS box for some of the older games like Commander Keen and all those. I love Commander Keen. Man, now I want to fire up Commander Keen and play some of that. So But yeah, we're going to be writing a kernel. So uh, if I finish up with my week 5 stuff early, because I finished the discussion with my workmates. One of the things I don't know if I was complaining about, weird, was that Harvard was making me engage my work colleagues for my personal class, and I was so we sat around and we did an RCA. We did a root cause analysis based on some homework that I had to supply. Let me see, where is it? Yeah, here it is. So this was the thing that I needed to do. Um, the activities, performance and opportunity gaps. So trying to identify performance or opportunity gaps in my team, department, unit, or org. Organizational challenge statement, root cause analysis. So we did 3 through 5 today with my work colleagues, which took about an hour. Actually, it took an hour. I probably would have been better off with 90 minutes. But now I have to do 6, 7, and 8 before Thursday, including a mapping of the root causes. Um, you know, I don't think people in security do enough root cause analysis. I know Lady P does some root cause analysis. I don't know. I just know. That's what it is. The old games used divisors on the clock for timing. In the old days, if you ran Keen on a 486DX2, it would run poorly, especially background music or sprites would skip. So DOSBox is an emulator that emulates the proper divisors. That's cool. You mean so it has all the slowdown and stuff, like when I was playing with the Nintendo and I'd get in, where there's a lot of frame rate drop or something like that, and I always assumed it was the bad guy causing my computer to frame rate drop or whatever. Um, but so yeah, I sat down and mapped out 4 challenges that I had, and damn, put them over there. Oh, you know what? I have it. I have it. One sec. One sec. I filled it in actually. Yes, 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 yes. All right, let me download this. I will open it. I will open it. The one thing I wanted to do, because I don't trust Harvard, I don't trust the cohort that I'm in, even if they say, these will be private and whatever, I had to keep them generic enough so that I'm not mentioning who I work for, because I don't mention who I work for in my cohort in my college class. But I wanted to, I assume that working in a large organization like mine, a lot of the same things are the same, right? Uh, so when I worked some of these out, being in security, I found a lot of opportunity gaps, not necessarily performance gaps. So product features are a priority over security features, obviously. Mounting technical and security debt. Product teams do not include security teams in planning process, and security teams across the enterprise are self-contained. Just keeping them fairly generic, not naming any names, not naming any companies or what have you. But these are pretty much, I mean, does anybody have any, like, this doesn't happen at my organization? Let me see, I have a 360DX16 about 2 foot from me now, running DOS 6 and Windows 3.11, so I'm set. Yeah. I liked Windows 3.11. Actually, when I moved to OpenBSD and was playing around with some of the tiling window managers, I got a little nostalgic. I mean, obviously there was a bit more graphics involved there. Oh no, DOS shell. It reminded me of DOS shell. I didn't use Windows 3.1. It was DOS shell. I actually got a bit nostalgic for DOS shell back in the day. So I gave these to my coworkers, and I was like, these are the 4, and I actually suggested the siloed opportunity gap here. Let me double check and make sure. Okay, so these are fairly new. So I put, this is an opportunity gap. Security teams across the enterprise are siloed. Most organizations that you work in, if you're big enough to have multiple security teams, you often find that another security team has a tool that they're using to do X. You didn't know about that tool because that team is pretty much insular, isolated. Um, it may be that you don't talk to them because of politics, or you're just freaking busy and you don't have time to reach out, or that you don't have communication what do they call it? Communication, channels to be able to do so. Or you only reach out to them when there's a crisis and you're like, oh my God, we need to fix all these things. And then you're like, we should have been talking beforehand. So those were some of the things I highlighted here. That lack of coordination from various security teams means we're duplicating effort. If you've ever, maybe even across development teams, this is a thing, but you might have built this really cool thing, or you might be in the process of building this thing, and you showcase it to people, and like, oh yeah, hey, blah blah team is doing something like this with blah blah, and you're like, oh great, okay, and then there's that whole political game. It's like you want your application that you spent a lot of time and work, money and effort on to succeed, and yeah, they can do whatever they want, but we're going to do ours, right? Or um, the coordination may be because that team won't work with you or won't give you, you suggest features and they're like, yeah, we'll get it, whatever. Collaboration only occurs when raised to management or in a problem mode. You might have to escalate to your management. I tend to not escalate to my management, so they escalate to the management across. I don't like doing this kind of communication because nobody wins there. Um, I'm more of an, I don't want to say an open connector or an open communicator, but I will reach out to the folks over there and go, hey, this, it's like, we need this, we need that. What do you need from us? What can we do to help? That kind of thing, instead of going up to my management saying, oh, they're not helping us, and then it's like across to their manager. Never good. Another thing that we have is, with that team having product A and we having product B, and the processes in product A don't match what we're planning on doing for the processes for product B. A team that may have to work with both of them, or the security teams, the security people that I mentioned are certifying apps, will work with product A and they'll have to do these 5 steps. But when they come over to our group, we've changed some of the process. We've added new process. So they may have to do 5 things, but they're different 3 from what's going on anyway. So sameness or homogeneity, I think is the word, homogeneity. Being homogenous across your environment, creating sameness will cause less conflict with product teams, with everybody in general, especially if you use the same language, the same acronyms, the same automation processes. If you don't have same artifacts that you're collecting, that kind of thing, the sameness is what I'm always trying to strive for. It may not necessarily be the same as everyone else, but yeah. So so yeah, we worked through some of that. I had some ideas here. Where's the thing that I was working on? Oh, that's great. I had a piece of paper. Oh no, okay. So so we had siloed teams. We started with siloed teams as the, pretty much the main deal, because there is here. So here's the problem. We have siloed teams. The problem is siloed teams. What is the cause? So you ask, why do we have siloed teams? And one of the, trying to, one, there's another thing that we have a problem with at our org is we have a bunch of people who want to try to solve problems. So you get more than 2 people in a meeting and you give them a problem, and the first thing they do is they go into problem solving mode. So I was talking about siloed teams, and within the first 5 minutes, we had one of my colleagues was like, oh well, if we just do this, and I was like, look, we're not trying to solve problems here. We're trying to ask the why question. Why do we have siloed teams? I don't want to solve the problem of the siloed teams, because that's going to take way more work than a simple 1-hour meeting between 3 people. So we got it down to lack of communications. And I was like, well, why do we have a lack of communication? And it came out that we have different organizations. We have different, we've M&A'd people in. So we've acquisition, we've got acquired companies who bring in their own, they bring their own devices, they bring their own tools, they bring their own culture, they bring their own personnel. uh, you know, and I was asking, why do we still have those siloed teams after we've acquisitioned? And there, we have a policy of not upsetting the boat, if you will, too much. We want things to continue working as they were before the acquisition, which is a great policy. And I was asking, why do we do that? And it's obvious that we don't want to disrupt operations. We want to bring them slowly into the fold. And my question was, well, how slow is slow, right? Because there's some orgs or some groups that have been acquired for 4 or 5 years, and it's like, should there not be a process for bringing those teams out? It's like, so there is. So I think on that one we got it down to the point where the root cause is we have a policy of you know slowly bringing teams in to the fold, where we're not causing any issue. And what you see here, some of these errors here, or some of these arrows, is that some of these root causes can be related to one another. Some of the causes can actually have the same root cause, and some of these could be distantly related to one another. So that's the whole reason for this. But yeah, and then we have organic growth. We have when we have teams that they grow and they flex, and they're somewhat ill defined sometimes, and we come out with the fact that they're ill defined is because when we ask for needs or headcount or something, it's with the idea of we're thinking only 3 to 6 months in advance instead of 2 years in advance. So you'll get a lot of headcount, or you won't get that headcount because your long-term plans potentially aren't correct. We also tend to have a rule of there's a certain metric that we tend to use or has been used in the past here, where you don't want the teams to get too big, and we have a metric for that. And if I told you what it was, you'd know where I work immediately. Um, so ideally, what we try to do is we try to keep the team small, and in doing so, we also have people who tend to not want to communicate, or they have their own agenda, they have their own things that they have to complete. So over time, it's like you're working 40 hours a week. I'm saying working 40 because in reality, some of our people are probably working 40 to 60 hours a week. Nose to the grindstone. They have time for their meetings, they have time for their own agendas, but they don't have anything else. And the last thing they want to do is spend time getting to know other people in another organization unless it directly benefits them, which is actually something I need to write down. Where would I put that one at? Let's see. Poor comms. Yeah, no interaction. Specialization. Yeah. Yeah, that could be potentially another one. It's like meetings. Unless they directly benefit from that or it helps them with their daily work, they're loath to want to share that information, or they're loath to make changes that's going to disrupt their systems, that kind of thing. Gramborg, hello, welcome. Lady P, Cisco, who is basically the be all end all of acquisition, had totally different take. You'd leave on a Friday as company XYZ, come in Monday, and everything would be Cisco, from the signage to the decorations and your new business cards to the plants. Plants. They assigned a longtime Cisco employee to each acquired staff to help them transition the Cisco way. Okay. Yeah, that's excellent. And the I'm sure that there is a team in our organization that handles M&A stuff. They tore off the proverbial band-aid. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, there's benefit to that. Um, so yeah, you know, we spent a good hour working some of these root causes out. I can't go as deep as this, but it's it's made me start asking questions like, are we building things because the teams that we're trying to work with are not forthcoming in accepting our feedback or our um you know I it sucks that I have to ask the question of, would we be spending all of this time building this product if this team would just be managed better, right? Gramborg, InfoSec guy in Australia, is this the Kepner Trago methodology? I do not know what that is. Let us go and welcome, by the way, from Australia. It is roughly what, noon Saturday there for you, Gramborg? I have some coworkers who are in Melbourne, I think. Okay, so -6. Yeah, -6. Okay, yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming and hanging out. It's Friday evening for me here in the Seattle area. Um, Brisbane. Okay, I have a friend of mine. Her mother and father live in Brisbane up there. So very cool. Very cool. So let me see. Kepner Trago. Oh, good God. Okay. I'm going to get a good oh, there he goes. Okay, Trago. Problem solving and decision analysis. So I don't know if this is that kind of our this is from Harvard Business Online. This is their going through and explaining, doing root cause analysis, just asking the 5 whys in this case, Gramborg. So why is it doing this? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing getting down to, and I prefaced the meeting when it opened. I was like, look, we may get to some uncomfortable points where it's like, maybe we suck and maybe we need to do better. So I was like, it's almost like doing an incident response lessons learned. It's like, there's no blame here. So if it's like, hey, Brian should have, been doing this shit, and that's our real cause here. It's like, this is the root cause because Brian is a dumbass and he needs to fix himself. I was like, I'm more than willing to assume that I may be, not doing what is necessary to, get things done. But I was like, there may come a point where our security, we need to fix something. So yeah, so I mean, there was, where we were charting these things out, and let's go back over here. So, yeah, okay, so this, I'm not going to fill out that contact form because I like myself still. So, yeah, looks like they're some kind of uh, uh, consulting firm to help with root cause analysis, but they offer training in-house public classes. Um, so yeah, Gramborg, this is Harvard Business School online. They do like a management track. So this is organizational leadership track that I'm taking. Lady P says, just acknowledge we suck as point one, then we can move forward from it. Doesn't get us any forward movement, so it's not a valuable thing to look. Yeah, I think the we suck thing is more like it's not we suck, but it's like we should be able to acknowledge that we are falling short of doing things as well. But yeah, and I don't know if this is short-sighted of me, but I assume that other people would feel the same way. So if it's got to be an objective thing, right? You can't just say, well, development's all effed up. Well, why is development effed up? Well, it's because of this, and it's because our processes are slow. And oh, are they following process? No, they're not. Well, why aren't they? Um, there's a number of things. So yeah, I mean, one of the a universal constant. Exactly. So yeah, we got down to this. I got down, we got to this. I'm going to fill this in later because I didn't want to put their names on here for this. I'm actually probably not going to put their names at all. I'm just going to leave it colleague 1 and 2 and their overall title. I actually wanted to do my one-on-ones on Friday afternoons with my manager, which you know, for a company that has gone through layoffs in the past month or so, still a little gun shy about having a meeting with my manager on a Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. But I wanted to have a 30 minutes with him to kind of go over some of this stuff because I was like, maybe it would be worth it for me to, because one of the optional parts of this assignment is to brief this to your management. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So one of the things here in creating value items, 3 to 5 crucial value creating activities. You know what? I think we might have missed that. That's okay. I'll have to just make those myself. Um, yeah. So one of these things, leader is beacon, leader is architect. The three things they teach you in this class is leader is a beacon, driving vision, goals, mission statements, if you will. Architect is creating value, creating activities, but also making sure that people, your resources, and everything are solid and safe. Let me see. Leader as architect. There we go. You are a rat bastard. Leader as architect. There we go. Images. I'm pretty sure that they probably posted this up somewhere else. Let's see. Is this it? No. Nope. I have a screenshot somewhere, but they go through and they talk about how the value creation is done by doing things in a proper way, um, and depending on your organizational things. So ideally, moving we don't want to do not write items like moving quickly or satisfy customers. They want you to be more specific. These are kind of action related items, like create a more streamlined process for security certifications, or create open forums or open communication. Those will be value creating activities. Create open, office hours for these items, and so we'll work through some of those issues. But yeah, some of the optional items for this was like brief your leadership on this, and I think yeah, it's already bad enough that I'm inviting my coworkers to do this shit as well. So um, yeah, exactly, Lady P. Yeah, it's like I'm waiting for HR to come on the call with my manager or whatever. Um, but yeah, so it was interesting. It's an interesting exercise. There's I think sometimes, the one thing that I was trying to let my coworkers know, because I told them I would fill this out and then send the full sheet to them, was that if we do want to go and do this stuff, it's going to be, I don't want to say ground. I don't want to say shaking the foundations of what we're doing, because that's aspirational. But these changes that would be needing to be implemented from a, because the idea is you could if you implement this root cause, if you mitigate or fix this root cause, or it could affect all of these things, or lessen this cause, which will actually fix other things here. Maybe this one, you know fixing these causes will also mitigate or reduce these causes, and will cause ripples. Will cause ripples in the way things are being done. And yeah, so ideally, just like when we do threat modeling and we mitigate something, or we put in a piece of technology that fixes, you know, if you turn this one widget, it fixes 80% of these issues. You want to try to find a root cause or something that's going to make the biggest impact to fix a good majority of these things, much like with threat modeling. Um, yeah. And so I hate writing. As you can tell, I have, awful handwriting. Um, but I've really not done a very good job of writing at my workplace, and I'm going to have to embrace that suck because I do see these issues, but I don't see anybody doing anything about them. So um, I think the next section of class is going to be talking about leader as catalyst. In this case, catalyst for change. And I don't know how it is at Harvard, but when I took my change management course from ProSci, which is a change management solution, they use what's called the ADKAR model. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but for those of you unaware, the ProSci ADKAR model, they have a book on Amazon if you want to get it. It's not long. It's a couple of hundred pages or something. ADKAR. And ADKAR stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And the idea is that they ask about why do changes fail and others succeed. And the whole point is that the biggest problems that you have in getting change management to happen is getting people aware that there's a need for the change and a desire for them to want to change. And that's where you get into things like resistance, being able to manage these things. So I took this course and I got both of these books, Timothy Creasy and the ADKAR model here. It really, I don't know if it was because I was open to understanding this, but it did kind of resonate with me that some of the stuff we do in security, we just assume that people are going to do what they need to do because hey, I'm a security person. At least that's how I am perceiving some of our people's deliveries in the world. Hey, I've had 20 years of experience. I know what's going to happen. Well, they don't know you. They don't know what you've lived through. I mean, it would be just like some developer saying, "Hey, I know this will work. Let's go ahead and do this." You're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! No, no, no! I'm not going to do that." They might be on that same kind of boat where, "Hey, I've done this before at 15 other places. I know this is going to work," and you don't necessarily trust them for that. So, um, it's an interesting book. They do have a Kindle version if you don't want to get it, and I don't know why the hell you'd buy a $50 hardcover version. There's no reason for it. And don't worry about that. There's only one left soon. You just get the Kindle version for 15, 16 bucks and print out what you need. But it's an interesting thing. It doesn't necessarily tell you the how, which is how a lot of these frameworks are. It's like, oh yeah, here's exactly how to do it because every group is going to be different. But there were some exercises we did in the change management course about, how resistant your organization is to change. Um, every company's like, oh yes, we're agile as fuck. We're gonna be able to do these things and make this happen. It's easy for one person to say that until you actually start looking at what the change means to people. And if those folks are not ready to change, it's going to be like digging your heels in. So getting buy-in is a huge thing. Um, if you've ever, yeah, there you go. Very, very interesting. I don't have this one leading change, but my guess is that the week 6, 7, and 8 of the course about the catalyst is the catalyst for change, which is going to be trying to get buy-in from folks, trying to help them understand what's in it for me. I think is mentioned quite a bit in the ADKAR model. What's in it for me if I make this change? What's the benefit? Because if it doesn't benefit them, they're not going to do it. You have to build a case of why they should care because it's going to take their time and effort to make those changes. It's going to change the way they're doing business. Changes may not immediately save time, effort, and money. It's more once you get more efficient at it. It's when I did my PMP course, they were talking about when you're bidding out a project or you're doing the timeline for something, and it's like somebody's going to be putting in tile in a bathroom. No, no, Lady P, exactly. No, Lady P. And I'm gonna say this, Lady P, but I say it with love. It sounds a little bit like what Elon Musk said. Take your time. Let you process. She's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me. I just know it. I just know it. I can feel it. He's not wrong, just stupid. Yeah. Um, he has a I hope he has a vision. Anyway, um, but it's the what's in it for me thing, right? And if this is a hey, we have to do this because, I like eating food and I don't want to be in a bread line somewhere and our company is going to go pear-shaped if you don't. I would have used another term there, but I can't. Um, if the change is severe enough where it's going to be like, hey, like Lady P says, you'll still have a job tomorrow because this is going to help save the company, then yeah, you're going to do that. Um, and then there's other things like, well, we already have this process that doesn't work. Why do we think another process is going to help us do better? And that's where you're doing things like soliciting input, which is a PMP kind of thing. But I was talking about the example of when you're bidding out something, and you expect if you can put down when you're building this out, the first time you may do something may take you 10 minutes to do it. You may have to do it 100 times, but the first time will take you 10 minutes. The second time you do it, it's going to take you 9 minutes and 58 seconds. The next time it's going to take you 9 minutes, 56 seconds. Oh, you figured out how to do something here that makes 10% increase in efficiency. So now it's only 9 minutes to do something. Um, you may have scheduled 2 weeks for this thing, but it's only going to take you a week and a half now because, as they get more efficient in the process, as they find shortcuts that make things work, as they find efficiencies, or, they may figure out, oh, I can add another person, I can get this done. That's part of, being able to, understand, you know, figuring out input, figuring out how it's going to be able to do something and getting that input. But yeah, so I mean, this is a good discussion here. This is a good book. If you're interested in that, I actually had the glasses somewhere when you take this class. I don't want to say it's a hard certification because I think I just took the class and you win, and it's one of those things where you don't have to do any more CPEs for it. Um, but it's not a bad thing, and it's if you're you're ready to hear these discussions, and you see them from a security point of view, it's helpful for that. So, um, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad to take this. They have a bunch of training as well. You can actually go and they have open hours. Like you can go and bounce ideas off people. They have like an open office kind of thing where you can come and join a meeting and talk about some of your wins and losses if you actually wanted to continue networking with folks like this. And there are positions open for people to do process improvement, process management. I mean, some of the ProSci stuff, I think ITIL was mentioned, which is a services kind of system. Uh, you're going to be looking at CMMI type maturity models. In terms of trying to build change in your organization and build maturity along with that. So I know this is exciting stuff. I've lost everybody that I've been following along with. But um, uh, yeah, I mean, I enjoy this. I enjoy trying to understand the motivation. There's some social engineering involved here too, right? Just to come back to the security side of things, the what's in it for me. Sometimes selling what you're trying to do is going to be a thing, which has never been easy for me. It's trying to sell your product, your mission, your outcome. I'm going to go to the moon, and I don't believe you're going to do that. What's in it for me to help you to go to the moon? That kind of thing. That's where God help me, things like metrics, which I've never been able to do well. I'm still working on that, and I think a good guideline for me in terms of, um, you know what? It is dark. I'm gonna 1 second. I'm gonna go turn on. getting to that point in the Seattle area where it's dark at 4:50, and my living room was dark. My wife and daughter were gone. Where was I? Oh, selling things. Metrics, and for me are it's like somebody's like, oh yeah, we need to build metrics for this. I'm like, well, what are we measuring, right? And my thing is I don't know what I want to measure and what is worth measuring. So what I've been trying to do is go, okay, well, what's the process needed for that? And it's like, well, we need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, can we measure step 3 in the process? Or are we measuring the output at the end of this? That kind of thing. Trying to think more methodically about this because it's metrics and collecting them has always been one of my weaknesses. And of course, everybody loves them some metrics. I the one thing that I've always raised a big stink about was the metrics should be easy to gather. Uh, for me, if if somebody's like, oh yeah, we need to know the number of outstanding vulnerabilities, I should be able to get that without spending hours to get one number. If I'm needing like the next order, analysis type metrics where it's like you have to collect these two metrics so that way you can compare them or add them together or process them in some way to get this second order metric, in terms of, and how well are we doing? Okay, well, are we going to gather metrics that are going to show how well we're doing, or are we going to show how realistically well we're doing? We may be a hot mess. Are we going to gather metrics that are going to show us a hot mess? Or are we going to gather metrics that are obviously biased towards how well we're doing or how well we think we're doing? And, it's that's always been a problem for me is metrics. And Lady P, I'd love your thoughts on this because Lady P's in senior management, being management at a company. I mean, when you're asking people for metrics, what do you expect to see? Because that's my thing. It's like I don't know what they want to see. They just like, oh yeah, show us metrics. And I'm like, okay, great. So like most things at our org, we spend hundreds of hours of man hours building some piece of shit, and then we throw it up there on the wall. And oh well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And I'm like, if we'd have spent half that time and given them maybe 3 things less, they still would have had issues with it, but we would have spent 50% less time. And that's my thing. It's like, oh, we spend all this time writing these docs or whatever, and we'll go like, oh man, well, what if they wanted this, what if they wanted this? I'm like, look, we give best effort, we throw it up there, they're going to have questions, they're going to have comments, they're going to have concerns anyway. um as long as for me at least, as long as we give them what's the problem, what's the alternatives we did, and why do we think this, instead of trying to go, well, we need to fluff this up a lot. The metrics are the same way. What is the goal of the metric? Well, it's to get to 0. Okay, great. Is that realistic? Well, no, because every month we always have new stuff. Okay, well, okay, let's not make it 0 then. Let's just make it a manageable number. Oh, no, we have to have 0. Okay, well, we've already failed because we'll never hit 0. Well, that's no way to be. And I'm like, it just seems like there's a lot of jankiness there. And I'm assuming if, uh, I expect to see panicked, invented BS crap on a page at the last possible second. I want, I want to know what problem you're trying to solve, why you think it needs solving, and how you came about deciding this was the way to approach it. Ah, I like that. Yes, your methodology. Okay. Um, Lady P, how much stock do you put in metrics? Do you ever look at something and go, why are you giving me vanity metrics? Or, like we closed X number of tickets today. Okay, great. I can go in and just put a bunch of junk in a ticket and close it every day. Less than 0. God damn it, I hate that. Ugh. I know you're just one data point, Lady P, but we spend. It's funny. We just had a meeting on Thursday. It's our monthly MBR, and one of the senior folks um, made a comment in the doc that, oh, this was updated on the 11th of March during, because we have a pre-flight for this MBR because it's so damned important. We have to have a meeting for the meeting and a doc for the doc. And one of the things was updated on the 11th of November and it hadn't been updated in a week. And one of the senior people had commented that, hey, this hasn't been updated. Um, why wasn't this updated? And, do you not have any answers earlier or, later than this? And they're like, this, seems like this takes a lot of effort to create this doc, this MBR doc that we create. Takes a lot of effort. We should look at trying to streamline that. And it's one of those things where I was like, I'm just upper lower middle management, and I've been saying this shit for months. Nobody listens to me, obviously, because I'm upper lower middle management. Once more senior folk start asking these questions, we get some change put in place. Lady P says, I bet if you take senior folks out for an adequate volume of adult beverages, you find I'm not just alone in that data point. I think everyone expects someone else to want those metrics. That's my thing too, Lady P. It's like they want the metrics, but do they know what to do with them? Is it we're giving them metrics because if we give them metrics, then they think we care or that we have a level of maturity? That's another thing that I have raised as well. It's like we have applications. They go into beta, gamma, UAT, whatever. These beta programs, they automatically want metrics, and I'm like, for me, metrics are like according to the CMMI model. God damn you. According to the CMMI maturity levels, the processes are measured and controlled at level 4, right? When I was auditing hospitals, we had processes and procedures and everything that were probably at level 1, which means, it's just, oh, I come in, oh, if that happens, I run over and I tell somebody. And it's like, oh, okay. We always wanted, when we were auditing, everything to be at level 3, because 3 was reproducible, written down. That was the big one, written down. And what was the third thing? There was like 3 things for that, but it was like reproducible. Oh, reproducible, documented, and people were aware that there was a process for it. That's what it was. Most of the time, it was level 1, where it's like people knew how to do it. It wasn't written down, and it wasn't. It was completely reactive, right? We only do something when it's bad, but they want in beta or gamma or alpha or UAT testing, they want metrics, and I'm like, look, you're not going to get good metrics in a beta process. I mean, we're changing up process. Don't be and don't be making goals on things that are still in beta, because it's like I can't guarantee we're going to hit those numbers, that kind of thing. So if I look at the tickets closed per day, those may be spun up 200 servers as one ticket, or 201 times I transcoded an image for the call center. One ticket is a lot of work. The other is piping a list of files into a script and going to lunch. Ring Zed, this always helpful when the ticket captures LOE, even though that can be hard to track. I have asked that question to management several times. I'm like, look, can we show how many hours have been spent on this MBR? That should be a metric, you know. Um, yeah, level of effort. Yeah, that's what LOE stands for. I've always been a fan of saying, you know what, it took us 300 man hours to create this document that is going to be looked at for an hour and a half, and then nobody else is going to look at it for the rest of the month. I that is something I would love to have as a one of these things, the process, the organizational change thing. It's like we have meetings just for the sake of meetings, and we don't we have people who want to solve things in these MBR meetings, and I'm like, I want to take a harder line with this, but I don't run the meeting right now. We're going to be rotating this. So the month that I'm going to do it, I may be a bit of an asshole. So I tracked the hours the ticket was worked on, but that can be fudged. If you start that transcoding job and go to lunch, it may take 3 hours, but 3 person seconds of actual effort. Oh, yeah. So, Lady P, what are there? So there's temporary metrics too, right? Initially the manual process would take 3 hours, but like you said, transcoding job. Not let's say it's something else other than transcoding, because somebody's not going to be transcoding manually. But let's say it was a manual process until you automated it. Um, if it saves you 3 hours a week times 52 weeks, do you no longer, I mean, once you've saved that effort, do you need to have it as a metric anymore? Are metrics only a measure of manual work versus automated work? That's an interesting question. If the automation takes 5 minutes and now that's no longer a problem that you have to do, other than general maintenance. So instead of 3 times 52, it'd be 156 hours a year. If it's now, it takes an hour for maintaining the automation, or takes a couple hours a year to do automation process. Um, it would be interesting to measure that. Do you measure the are the metrics for automation purposes, or are the metrics to show manual work in that respect? I think if you do that, you never see progress. I need to know that my staff has now unassigned hours that I can give to another project. Hmm. Hmm. Well, okay, so maybe I didn't explain that well enough, or maybe I did, and that's not what I wanted. So if I have 40 hours in a week, and I have a process that I have to bust my ass on to do 10 hours a week of work, and we set up a process improvement where, right, okay, so how much time got saved. The point there, Lady P, is once you've realized the cost savings, do you need to keep track of that anymore? Are some metrics temporary? So it's like, hey, we have this process we put into place. It's now automated, and I now have 20 hours new a week that I have. Okay, well, now we don't have to track that because that's been realized. So that 20 hours can go somewhere else. It, I think that's the best. I think that's the easiest way I can say it. It's like, yes, I want to have those when I get to the budget at the end of the year. I want to talk about our wins. Okay, all right, that's fair. I just think some metrics should be temporary and shouldn't always be stored in that manner. Damn, it is dark outside at 5 o'clock. I'm gonna be glad when I move to San Diego. So, but yeah, so you know, I appreciate everybody listening to me rant, but I'm actually getting quite a bit out of this Harvard Business Online course. If you I want to tell people, because my friend's name is Steve Beck. He's probably still working, but 20 years ago, 20 years ago, yeah, roughly 20 years ago, he was working with me as a programmer in the Navy, Harvard Business Online. He was going to college for his MBA, and he was like, "Yeah, you should definitely go do that." And I was 20 something dumbass that was like, no, I'm going to be a security guy. I'm awesome. I'm going to be pen tester. Yeah, I'm an idiot. It's one of those things where I'd get in my DeLorean and Falcon punch myself when I got back to 2002. So I'm learning. These are the two folks that are doing the videos in class. Obviously, we don't get to interact with the speaker or the teachers as much. But yeah, they have a okay. So if I didn't take this one, this would have started in March. So they have another one starting in January. All right, that's good. It's cheaper than an MBA. That's what I'll tell you. And if you take 3 of these courses in an 18-month period, you learn a certificate of specialization. Um, so it's one of those things. But yeah, so let's see. Week 6 is a catalyst to change, diagnosing the need for organizational change in response to external shifts or utilizing the change model. Ooh. Okay, so they're not using ADKAR. Of course, they have their own version because they're Harvard. So let's go see what the change model is. Change model stages. Okay, so pre-contemplation, contemplation, determination, action, relapse, maintenance. Don't know what pre-contemplation is. Let's go see. Pre-contemplation. Come on, load, you son of a bitch. Oh, it's janky. There we go. No intention on changing behavior. Okay, that's lack of desire. Contemplation, aware a problem exists but with no commitment to action. So that's awareness. Preparation, intent on taking action to address the problem. That would be okay. So that's these two are kind of put together. Contemplation, preparation. They're bringing awareness. So in this case, they're aware. Desire would be action, active modification of behavior. So they recognize that there's a problem. Knowledge, sustained behavior, new behavior places old. So yeah, maybe it doesn't all map exactly, but yeah, there's, yeah, so falling back into old patterns of behavior. That's where the R for reinforce would be. For ADKAR, you want to reinforce those behaviors and make sure that they're proper. So interesting. Interesting. Not aware, uninformed, no intention of changing. Okay, so this is before. So yeah, getting ready, problem exists, thinking about changing. Okay, so they in contemplation they've added the awareness and desire together. Preparation, so that's more of the desire. Modifications in their behavior have made modifications preventing relapse. That's the reinforcement at the end, and then 100% self efficacy, no temptation to relapse. Okay. Oh, Ring Z, I'm a poor. Um, yeah, I appreciate you thinking about that. When you go to write your next resume, those are metrics you want in your resume, so you want a permanent record as well. Yeah, yeah, that's true. So yeah, we'll go. I'll brief everybody on the change model when it comes out. But yeah, this is what I'm assuming this is. These change, but we'll see. Appreciate how to overcome resistance to change. Yeah, this was one of the biggest things that change management is great, but the resistance is what's going to kill you in the end, right? Um, and then catalyst of innovation. Ah, there you go. Okay. And then leading self at scale and scope is the bonus module, which I haven't done yet. I may actually do that one just for shits and giggles. But yeah, I mean, if y'all are interested, this is one of 6 courses. I haven't figured out the next one I'm going to take. Um, I'm trying to decide on that. Positive impact, influence, and either that one or strategy execution to implement strategy within your organization. I think this one is probably going to be one I want to take, but I'm finishing this one up. I don't know when the next one on this one starts. So let me see. It starts in February. Okay. Ideally, I want to take one before we move to San Diego. So either that one or let's see, Management Essentials. Oh, see. So this one starts in January. So this might actually be a good one to take, and then I can take the other one in January. But anyway, I'm gonna go. It's Friday. I want to go and hang out. I got to go finish my homework now because I've got homework. I have to finish up those. I have to finish up. Actually, I have to fill out section 4 because I didn't do that with the team, but it should be easy enough to fill out section 4 on value creating activities. But then I've got to do 6, 7, and 8, which is completing this exercise, rate your department team, willingness to stop, start, and improve behaviors. So that's change management there, talking about change management. Um, there's a mapping the root causes. So I'm assuming they're going to have some Glyphy or draw.io that I'll have to build this out, my plan O stuff, and then have to create an action plan. I'll just probably, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm probably going to have to bullshit that one a little bit because there's just a lot of process to get this stuff done. In some ways, we're glacial. In some ways, we're very fast. So um, some of this is probably going to help inform me onto what I need to do to go talk to my management to make sure things are happening. So Lady P says, if you want to see me a dying avian CEO, just say the words, that's the way it's always been done. Example of change resistance in my world. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of folks like that. You know, a lot of our org is like, oh yeah, we're very fast, we're very alacrity, we have alacrity and agility. And I'm like, but we're using processes that are more than 10 years old. Well, yeah, that's just always the way we've done it. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. It's an interesting quandary there because they don't hear that when they say it, but they want to be speedy and alacrity. But that's the way we've always done it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to try to get buy-in from folks on that stuff. Um, and I'm already seeing it with some folks. It's like, why are we doing this? Why do we upload this artifact? And I was like, well, there's no reason why we're doing it now. So maybe there's a better way of doing it. So I've been asking those why questions the last few days. So it's kind of fun. So, all right. Yep. Have a good day, everyone. Take care of yourselves. You know what? If y'all will, there we go. Just want to see who's online. Go join us on Mastodon if you want. There's plenty of room. Triplexity. All right, let's double Triplexity's people. So, all right, so we're gonna go. Hopefully, you're all mature adult audiences. We're gonna go join Triplexity here. But yeah, have a great weekend. I'll see you back here on Tuesday, and I'll probably do something on next Friday, which is a holiday. So, cool. Lady Parabellum at elephantfossil.com. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to go. Have a good one. Later. Bye.